So, you read the title. This is the top 10 releases of 2025, or at least my top 10. Not necessarily ranked in any particular order, although I think it's pretty clear what my favourite album was, and that takes the number one spot. So, without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. A real surprise for me, in all honesty. See, I'd known about Lorna Shore for quite a long time. I'd seen the name popping around, but I just never really give them a chance until I Feel the Ever Black Festering Within Me came out, in September this year. Yeah, I just love the approach to metal, really. It's got that very strong deathcore spine, but there's so much more symphonic elements, so much melody in there, and they take on more progressive route, especially with songs like Forevermore. Oblivion, that's another fantastic song on this album. And Will Ramos, he's an absolute force of nature behind the mic. He is got to be one of the best metal vocalists on the planet. And if you listen to this album, you'll see why. Up next, it's Denmark's Sunken. So yeah, I discovered the band around about June 2024, May 2024, when they came on a UK tour, and I saw them in Manchester and also at Fortress Festival 2 days later. And I just loved their approach to atmospheric black metal. And I had tabs on this new album, Lykke, I think it's pronounced, or Lykke, I'm not sure. But I know apparently it means happiness in Danish. So yeah, they released this album on October the 23rd of this year, and had a chance to see it in full at Samhain Maastricht as they played it headline in the club stage there. I missed the opportunity, I didn't see them, and when I was flying back from the Netherlands on that Monday night, I listened to it in full, and it's an absolute major step up from the previous work. I mean, they spent so much time in the studio crafting the most amazing atmospheric guitar tones, absolutely crushing, honestly. I'm wounded I didn't get to see them that evening in Maastricht, in South Maastricht, and I really regret it because it's an absolute phenomenal album. It's there's pretty long songs on there. They're good. A lot of them are well over 10 minutes long, so you've got to have good attention span, I suppose. But it's definitely worthwhile. It's definitely worth the journey. Now, continuing that theme of atmospheric black metal, next up we've got Greamer from Siberia, and they had a chance to. They were supposed to come to Manchester in May 2024, 2025, sorry, but due to visa issues, they just couldn't make it, and that's a shame, really, because I would have loved them to play this. Songs from Nightshade. It's got everything you expect from that atmospheric black metal. It's just absolutely crushing rhythms and just massive soundscapes. But also, they incorporate some more traditional folk elements. Some traditional Siberian instruments in there, just to add a quite a unique twist and something different to the genre. Now, I discovered Hangman's Chair at Damnation 2024, and I really loved their approach to doom metal, that more progressive approach, some psychedelic elements and more of a melodic element. And I couldn't wait to get my hands on Addiction. And again, this is a step up from the previous work. Cedric is an absolute powerhouse on the microphone and guitars also. You can't really tell if he's singing or wailing in primitive agony there. He's such a force, such an amazing, unique voice. And they do experiment with more slower psychedelic elements, the ones that are really designed to tug on your heartstrings and make you feel emotions you didn't know you were capable of feeling. And I think Canvas is probably the best example of that. That's a standout song on this record. And if you've got time for one song, just make it Canvas. Now, I'm not going to be the only person with Deafheaven's Lonely People with Power in my top 10. And it's for good reason because it really is an absolute powerhouse of a record. See, some bands, they try to be too many different things at once, try to incorporate too many subgenres, and it ends up becoming just an absolute pile of mess, really. But I think Deafheaven, they do it really well. They've got a pretty strong black metal spine, especially with the sheer pace and intensity and the vocalist high pitched shrieks. And there's more of a hardcore sort of raw edge to it. There's also the post metal elements, the psychedelic shoegazy guitars that really make it accessible and melodic at times, but juxtaposed so well with that aforementioned intensity and pace. Doberman is easily the best song on this album, I think, and it kind of sums up all those elements really well, and it's definitely worth a listen. So we're getting serious now into the top five, and the first of which is Scotland's Sayore and the latest album, Amidst the Ruins. Now, they've always been one of my favourite black metal bands, but this album just really sums up how they've continued to improve and expand their sound and evolve and not settle on the laurels. See, I've always loved Andy's voice, the front man. He's got this amazing, rich, intense voice. But they introduced the backing vocals of Ella, the female backing vocalist, and this ethereal vocals, they mix so well with Andy's, they juxtapose so well, and they both offer something different. But it's not just Ella's amazing vocals, it's also her mastery at the woodwind instruments, the Uilleann pipes, the tin whistles. And most bands would probably just put them through the backing tracks, but the fact that they're played live and acoustically, it's just so much better and so much raw and authentic. I think that sums up the band really well. They're very raw, authentic, and a lot of the songs on this album they hover around the 10-minute mark. So if that's your thing, want something short and sharp, this band's probably not really for you. But if you want a journey, if you want to go through lots of different movements and lots of different progressions, then it's definitely something you'll enjoy. Now, Pladget Records is one of my favourite record labels. They always put out consistently amazing records. And I was quite curious about Hiroe. I'd never listened to them before. This was their debut full length when they released Wheeled back in June. But I was not expecting to be blown away in the way I was. I mean, I just remember listening to Tide for the first time. One of the best songs, no, the best song on the album by an absolute mile. They've got three guitarists in the band, and the bassist, so creating the most amazingly dense textures and just these amazing atmospheric elements in there. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to be blown away in the way I was. This isn't going to be no technical analysis. Just know that if something's impressed you, it just impressed you, and this was the case for Hyro. Now, This Will Destroy You are one of my favourite bands of all time. Definitely my favourite post rock band. When I found out that current and ex members were collaborating to form You Infinite, I just knew I had to get my hands on it for myself and see what it's all about. Now, this really exceeded my very high expectations. It explored a lot of passages that the members didn't get a chance to use in This Will Destroy You, so that's just amazing, really. It pulls you in so many different directions. They've got the slower, more emotional ambient sections, but got those huge soundscapes, those really immersive soundscapes that it's one of the reasons I love post rock and one of the reasons I love You Infinite. It's definitely one for the post rock fans out there. I've not really seen it getting talked about as much as it probably should be, but I've got a feeling this will age very well. Now, my friends, they know that I love Bell Witch, and I'm often on the receiving end of jokes for this, but I don't care. You can imagine how excited I was when I found out that they're going to be collaborating with Early Ruin once again to release Stygian Bow Volume 2. I remember discovering Waves Became the Sky for the first time, and I genuinely lost count how many times I listened to it, but that shows what an impact it had on me. I remember Volume 1 that was released in 2020, and it was good, but it felt a bit rushed at times and a bit too rough around the edges. Maybe because of COVID, things were disrupted and couldn't get the best product out there. But in 2025, they learned from those mistakes and they produced something that really is night and day compared to the original. It's just such a higher standard. And, you know, Dylan is a fantastic bassist, the bassist for Bell Witch. He's got this 7-string bass and he has to do the kind of, the bass parts of one hand and the melody of another, this kind of thing. So they're quite limited in terms of compositions. But with Eric from Early Ruin, they got so much more to work with. They've got an additional guitarist, so they explored textures and timbres that they simply can't do by themselves, and that's why I found it so immersive and just incredible. It's definitely one for the post metal fans, definitely one for the doom metal fans, especially those who like it low and slow. Finally, we get to number one. This is Solastalgia by Heretoir, easily my favourite of 2025 and my best album by quite some distance. I discovered the band in 2023 and my expectations were very, very high, but they absolutely smashed it with this record. It's the most complex, mature release to date by a mile. It kicks off with absolutely thunderous The Ashen Falls. It really sums up the band so well. They've absolutely mastered that post metal element, that post atmospheric black metal. And Marcus, this is his best vocal performance by a mile, whereas his more sorrow, mournful cleans or his absolute wailing screams of agony. There's so much to appreciate here. They got more complex, longer songs, exploring different passages, or they got shorter, sharper bursts like Inertia. They've even got a cover of Metaphor by In Flames, which I think is a little out of place to be honest, but they've done the song, they did the original justice. Now I've got another video which covers this in a lot more detail, but yeah, just understand this was my album of the year by quite a lot of detail, quite a lot of distance rather. And I did get a chance to see them in 2025 when they were supposed to headline Samhain Maastricht, the club stage, the second stage, but unfortunately they pulled out 2 days before. So I'm hoping to get a chance to see them live finally, the first time in 2026.